last session, session 3, which will be refine and finding your own voice. We are joined with Jenny Shin, who will be our facilitator and lead for this session. But before that, let me just give a quick introduction. Obviously, you guys have been with me for 2 sessions now, but just in case there are any new attendees who don't know me, my name is Juntae Rocker. I'll be moderating this last session. I'm so excited to have you guys one last time. I'm a program support specialist for KSF. I graduated from the Pennsylvania State University Honors College with a double BA in Asian Studies and Korean with honors in both areas. And I also am a 4-time KSF scholarship recipient. I'm very glad to be back here and engaging with the community and helping out. So with that said, let's get into session 3, which is refining and owning your own voice, as well as just final draft polishing and strategy. I will now turn it to Jenny Shin, our facilitator, to introduce herself and go through her goals.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny, and I am the program committee chair. So in this session, we're really going to keep it short because what we really want to do is we want to hone in on what are we saying and how are we saying it, right? So that our goals are finalizing our essay through individual strategy work and boosting our writing confidence and essay ownership. But in order to do that, we have to do a couple of things, okay? The first thing is we have to revise, and the second thing is we have to edit. Now, if you would go to the next slide, what I want you to do right now is quickly write down a phrase that you feel that best encapsulates your essay. Now, before you start, what I'm trying to say is, let's say that your essay is about you coming to America and having trouble with the language barrier. You can write that. Came to America, had trouble with the language barrier, and now want to be a communication specialist. Or if you really struggled with writing out your thoughts in high school, and people not and your teachers not being able to understand what you were writing. So how did that made you want to become an editorial specialist? And then, or if you saw media and you didn't see anyone that looked like you or talked like you or acted like you, say you can talk about did not see diverse representation in media, so therefore that makes me want to do X, Y, and Z. Doesn't have to be super complicated, just brief. So I want you to think about your answer for about 30 seconds and then type out your answer, and then we're going to wait to submit as in a waterfall. All right, we're about to do a waterfall. So in 3, 2, 1, next slide, waterfall. Growth. I like that. Family means everything to you. Translating others' silence to, I love that. Translating others' silence to communicable language. I feel like you could do so much with that and just to really expand upon that. All right. So if we can go next. Sorry, y'all. My computer isn't really working with Zoom right now. So thank you, Chinta, for sharing your screen. So today's agenda is really about, if we can break it down, it's really about revising and editing and doing it together. So did everyone receive the worksheet by chance that we sent out? If not, what I can do is I can drop it in the chat one more time. I'm going to drop it in the chat. What I want you to do is, as we're going through things today, just kind of look and if you want to fill it out, you can fill it out. Kind of look alongside this. And even if you're not filling it out, what I want you to do is just kind of think about it. Think through it with us. All right, next. So, my favorite part of this whole writing process is the revision. The reason for this is that revision is kind of like a puzzle. You already have the puzzle in front of you. It's just scattered. You've already you've already painted it, you've already devised what the actual picture is going to be. You just need to put it back together. And that's my favorite part because you've done all the work. Now you just need to like, put the corner piece there, put the middle piece there, and put the final piece as a final touch. So it's really more about how are we editing our piece? How are we revising our piece to have clarity and show the big picture? But also, how are we editing our piece so that it actually like grammatically makes sense? Yes. Next. So the first way that we do that is by identifying what our central theme and support is going to be, right? Because without a theme, you cannot have an essay. In my personal opinion, you just don't have it. Without your central message, your essay falls apart. Because what is the admissions officer or what is the employer supposed to look at whenever they're looking at your essay for about ten seconds? What are they supposed to see? You want to make it crystal clear as to what they're supposed to see. And whenever they deep dive, as they will, if they're like, oh, I'm interested in this candidate, they're going to deep dive and they're going to see what supports your theme. So you really want to think, what is the main message? How can I make that crystal clear in 10 seconds or less? And then how have I supported it? So does your essay match your theme? And do you have enough concrete examples? Because if your examples do not match your theme, then that example should not be there. So example, for your theme might be overcoming fear. You sit on the diving board, your heart was racing, but you jumped off anyway. But then you start talking about, I love chocolate ice cream, or my pet was really important in how I developed as a person. Those two things do not support your essay. So if your theme is overcoming fear and your central idea is I stood on the diving board, heart racing, but jumped off anyway, your your support should be something that is related to diving, something that is related to how you trained for the diving, and something that is related to how did your mindset change as a result of you diving off that board. So I want you to quickly take a second and just either fill out the central theme check in your worksheet or just look at it. What is the main theme of your essay? And highlight sentences that support your theme. And then highlight sentences that just don't fit. If you have your Google Docs open, you can use that. And if you don't, just think about it. Just look at it. What fits and what doesn't fit? Because again, it should be crystal clear within the span of 10 seconds as to what your theme is. And you should be able to, and people should be able to clearly point out, hey, that's how they backed it up. I know exactly what they did and how they got there. Any questions so far? Now we will have time at the end in order for if you have your essays, like I'm happy to look at it and just be like, hey, I can identify the theme. Or hey, I actually can't identify the theme. So if we can move on to the next. So now after you have your theme, we want to clarify, condense, and condense. We want to make sure that our message is so clear that you can cut it with a diamond. Okay. And we do that by number one, fixing things that are vague. The number one thing I see or have seen as in my time as a teacher, because I taught for 7 years and I also help students like learn how to write essays for a good amount of time. It was vagueness. As an example, the day was night. Like where there are like drops of rain on the grass, etc. Or the warm sun and the gentle breeze made it a perfect spring afternoon. As an aside, I feel like my internet might cut out in a little bit. If it does, I will be right back. Just wanted to make that clear. If you have vagueness, then it doesn't fit within the essay just because of the fact that you're not maximizing your space. Because for the most part, your cover letters to companies should be about a page or less than that. Your your essays, your application essays probably have a word count limit. You have to make everything fit, and therefore, you have to make everything actually matter. Every sentence that you say has to matter. If it doesn't, then you need to throw it out or use a different or use a different sentence. Now, on the opposite side of that, you can't be too wordy, right? As said, I went to the store in order to buy some groceries. You can easily cut that down and say, I went to buy groceries. Because people know that you go to the store in order to buy groceries. Or you can say, I went to the grocery store. If it's not a grocery store, you can say, I went to Lululemon or I went to Athleta. You want to clarify what you're meaning, and you want to condense what you're trying to say. So for the next minute, just kind of look over the clarify and condense in your worksheet. Fix one vague or wordy sentence and rewrite it clearly. And then if Chinte could go to the next part. But before I go on, are there any questions? So again, we've talked about theme and the central idea. You have to have your theme so that your essay has a foundation to go on. And then number two, we have to clarify what we're trying to say and fix the wordiness, or else our words are just going to spill over the page. And then we just can't do that because, again, we have a limit to number one, attention span, and number two, actual word limits. All right. The third thing I want to talk about is there a flow to your essay? And do we need to reorder things in order to have that flow? So if you really look back and if you step back from your essay, so what I want you to do later or whenever you're writing your essay in that process, if you've been staring at that screen for like 3 days, or if you've been staring at that screen for like 2 hours, go take a break. Like go on a run, go get a snack, go watch some mindless TV, right? And then take a break and then come back to it. Or else you will not see that flow and you will not see the flow that's happening. And then when you come back, ask yourself, like, actually read it out loud. If you read it out loud to yourself, then you'll be able to see, oh, actually, this is pretty choppy. Or, oh man, this actually flows really well. You'll be able to see that. As awkward as it is, read your essay out loud. And you can even record yourself. That way you have a second point of view as to what to see it. And then ask yourself, does the essay flow? And I'm actually gonna talk what flow means, right? Flow in this context means, does it have a clear beginning, middle, and end? Is it sequential? Or if your essay isn't sequential, do all of your examples, do all of your statements actually have a pattern of recognition? And if it doesn't, that's when we need to reorder things. Again, take a big step back in this situation. The first thing that we have to reorder are paragraphs because if like point A is down here when it should be up here, and if point B is all the way down here when it should be up here, and it's all out of place, then you can't even reorder the sentences. You have to put in your story A that goes along with story B and that goes along with story C in that order. So again, reorder your paragraphs before you reorder your sentences. And then after you reorder your paragraphs, go into your sentences. Make sure even those paragraphs flow. Don't look at it from a bird's eye view. Look into the paragraphs and ask yourself, let me read my paragraph out loud, one by one. And then let me think, did that paragraph flow? If not, we need to reorder those sentences. If it's great, move on to the next one. Again, I want to emphasize in this portion, this is actually probably one of the most important um, portions of the revising and editing process, in my opinion, because you need to take breaks, or else you're not going to be able to see your essay from a third person perspective. You won't be able to see it from a person perspective anyway. But if you do not take breaks and come back to it over and over again, it'll be like, oh, you're fine. And then you get the admissions officer, if they give you feedback, you don't want to be caught off guard when they say there was no flow. So I want you to just kind of quickly look at or fill out flow and reorder in that third part where it says find one paragraph or sentence that could move for a better flow. And you don't even have to rewrite it or reorder it. Just think about where could it best fit in that paragraph. All right. So if we could go next in order. So what we're going to do right now is take a 5-minute revision pause. We've just talked about the revising portion right now, which is really the clarity of your message. So let's take a 5-minute revision. This is 7:18 right now. So I'm gonna start talking again at 7:23. Pick the area that you think will make the biggest improvement. We only have 5 minutes, so we really don't want to like look at the entire essay, but look at one paragraph. Look at one paragraph and ask yourself, does it have a clear central idea? And then does it flow? I love what Kaylin said in the chat. A clear central idea that runs through the entire essay is essential. I love what she said about it has to run through the entire essay. You can't just give up at the end and be like, okay, I'm done. It has to be a consistent theme throughout the essay. And this is also why using ChatGPT, this is part of the reason why that using ChatGPT for an essay is not good. Like, because you can tell when someone has used ChatGPT because there's a clear tone. In this situation, you do not want to use ChatGPT because you want it to be your voice. Like, I talk so much differently than our executive director, Michelle, does. Michelle talks so differently from Junte. Like, there's a clear voice that we all have, and Junte talks so differently from Kaylin. There's a clear voice that we all have. And if we cannot get that across, we will not communicate who we are. And then the admissions officer will be like, okay, moving on. Next. So do we have any questions so far? As Shinta said, they also have ChatGPT detectors, and it is a clear violation of academic integrity, and your application will be disqualified or void, possibly even blacklisted. Thank you so much, Shinta. So now let's go into my honestly probably the easiest part, the spelling, grammar, and tenses, okay? Because again, you've created your puzzle, you have like you know what the picture looks like. You've actually put most of it together. Like all the edges are done, like you've filled in most of the insides, and now you just have to put like input like the one-off puzzle piece here and there, because most of it's done. But this is also where it's easy to trip yourself up because you're like, oh, I'm almost done. I'm done. I look through every single sentence to make sure, number one, that the spelling is on point because spelling's easy, guys. Spelling's so easy. Like, that's where you can be like, ChatGPT, how do you spell separated? Because if you're like, actually, I actually don't know how to spell separated or parallel, or those words that have just like like so many N's and L's, and you're like, oh my goodness, is this one of those words that is just confounding? Ask. Like ChatGPT will tell you, hey, you spell parallelism with two L's and not just one. Again, you're asked if you use ChatGPT, use it for good. This is like asking it to spell a certain word, I believe is fine. Someone correct me on that. Um, shouldn't they, right? Like the spelling's fine, right?
Yeah, I don't see any issue with using ChatGPT to, correct your spelling. I still prefer you guys just memorize spelling since it really is just memorization. But there are words like Jenny said where there's a lot of extraneous letters. And I think Jenny's Wi-Fi picked possibly the worst moment to go out. I think she's frozen for all of us. We'll give her a couple minutes for her Wi-Fi to settle down. But in the meantime, I think you guys, since we do have a lot of time for this session, to start thinking about your spelling, grammar, and tenses like we were talking about. This is really what makes your writing flawless. Um, as someone who also has reviewed essays, as well as, tutored in English, you'll be surprised of how many native English speakers misspell or have inconsistent grammar or inconsistent verb tenses. When I would argue this is very like rudimentary, very foundational. Um, so yeah, like Jenny said, reading through your sentences, obviously it's hard to be objective when you're reading your writing just because your eyes become accustomed. Like even today, I was working on a cover letter for a job and I had to have my manager read it because I just looked at the cover letter way too many times where all the sentences blurred. So getting that objective perspective from someone else who can read your essay, give you a fresh pair of eyes, make sure that there are no mistakes, that your writing is cohesive, fluid, has a certain flow, and maintains all of these rules. So yeah, Jenny did just confirm with me that her power went out. There are storms happening in certain areas of the United States, but she is coming back. Thank you so much for your guys' understanding and patience. I mean, like y'all, I feel like y'all know the weather has been so bipolar recently that I'm not even surprised. But yeah, if we could wait just a couple more minutes to have her come back. Thank you again.
Hello, apologies. The power went out. Okay. Can everyone hear me? We're good. All right. So yes, spell check. Use spell check. You don't even have to use ChatGPT. It's embedded within the Google Docs or Word. Grammar. That has to be consistent. If not, it's like they'll start reading and they'll be like, "Hold on, this doesn't make sense. What were they trying to say?" And then tenses is probably the hardest out of it all, but you have to go through your essay with a fine-tooth comb and talk like make sure that all your tenses are on point. Because again, you don't want to be stuck talking about the past when you're actually in the present. And then you don't want to be stuck talking about the present when you're actually supposed to be talking about the future. That that will actually mess up your essay just because people are like, wait, what am I trying to read? What are we talking about? So just look over the spelling and grammar portion. Like check your essay for any misspelled words and check your tense consistency. Now, in case my power decides to go out again because it is stormy out here, we can just keep on moving on. Again, this is also so important. These three and the tenses. POV, keep your perspective consistent. Sometimes I'm reading a book on Amazon Kindle or whatever it is, right? And then I'll be reading and it's in the third person, and all of a sudden they switch to the first person. It is so disconcerting. You do not want to disconcert your readers. Parallelism. This is pretty easy. Just look through your sentences with the fine-tooth comb. Ask yourself, is it parallel? Singing, dancing, and painting. Pretty easy to identify. And punctuation, again, fine-tooth comb. Use the embedded tools within your Google Docs or your Word to identify this. All right, next. So this is a checklist. If you go through this, again, no guarantee that it'll be a surefire essay, but please go through these and make sure that you revise first so that you can edit. If you start editing and then you're like, wait, actually I didn't revise, that's just more work on you because you didn't clarify your message. So now I just want to say thank you all for really being here. I'll stick on for as long as my power will let me. If you have any questions about your personal essay, and really a recap email will be sent with the materials and the resources. And we would love it if you made sure to fill out the post-workshop survey for feedback. We hope to bring this series back again next year. And we just really want to make it better. Now, on October 9th, we have the tech panel. And we have three amazing individuals who work at Google, Samsung, and IBM. So uh if you would like to attend that, feel free to register using this bit.ly. We'll also have it on our social media. And just to showcase some upcoming KASF events, in September and October, we have regional scholarship banquets. So if you haven't if you have not applied for a scholarship from KSF, please make sure to do so for the next school year. We will have it posted on our social media and the application will be on our website. October, the Careers in Tech panel. December, we have a fundraiser to celebrate the day of giving. January is a mental health panel with Miss Kaylin Yoon. March will be the Careers in Medicine panel with hopefully a panelist from the CDC and a couple of doctors. May, Careers in Law panel. And then June, we have an International Careers panel tentatively scheduled. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And again, a recap email will be sent with the days with the resources. Thank you.